5 years since I was getting in the program. So, but once I got into the nursing school, it was like 3 years. It was a 3-year program.
All right, and what made you choose this career?
I have always wanted to help others. And I know with my mom being a nurse, and I just thought it was a good way to help others. And I always wanted to be a teacher in that aspect as well too. To help others and then to do some teaching. It just offered also like a lot of flexibility, like I saw what my mom was doing. Just a lot of flexibility with like hours, and then just hearing that, once you get your degree, your whole world is like open. You can practice whatever you want to do. You can do babies, you can do adults, you can specialize in something else, or you get sick with doing inpatient stuff. There was just a lot of flexibility with people.
All right.
That kind of really appealed to me.
That's awesome. What would be your favorite part of the job?
My favorite part of the job, working with the families, like teaching them, and then just kind of watching the babies hit their milestones for me.
Is there any downsides to what you do?
There is. I mean, there's obviously death. And then not everything kind of goes the way you want it to. So, you can't control everything, and sometimes it's very hard because you want the best, and, a lot of the times, things happen and you can't control what happens, so.
Right, does that ever, affect you? Like, not just inside of work, but outside? Do you ever think about it more when you get home, or?
Oh, yeah, I've come home crying quite a few times.
Oh, boy.
You can't help but kind of get emotional, especially working with the families and the babies, because sometimes they're there. I think the longest one that I've worked with was just under a year. And you're with these families, all the time. You're a part of their family, and if you get really close to you, they know that you're on that night, and they're like, oh, good, we can go finally get some sleep tonight because we know you're there. So you get really involved with the families. So yeah, you do. I mean, you do take part of it home with you. You try and leave as much as you can at the hospital, but you can't help but not get attached to the families and to the babies.
Right. Do you find this career rewarding sometimes, or at all?
I do. I find it very rewarding. Like I said, there's nothing like watching, because in the neonatal, everything is control is taken away from the parents. This is not their ideal, normal situation. So anything that I can do to kind of help see it, just make a little card with their footprints on it, or just kind of watch the parents as they give the baby a bottle for the first time, or the first bath. And I find that very rewarding. It's kind of helping normalize a very not normal situation. Just trying to make that transition for them the least traumatic, any more traumatic than it already is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I've researched and I thought there's 3 levels, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of
NICU, or?
Yeah.
We have mostly, we kind of have an intensive part, and then the step down, where basically the intensive part is there's a lot of babies on the ventilators and just really tiny, and then the more step down part, we call it, is where the babies just need time to gain weight, to grow, and they just need time. They're doing fine otherwise. They just need that time to gain weight and grow, to kind of be able to kind of hold their temperature or nipple all their feedings.
What one do you work in? Do you work in the most intense one?
I do both, but yeah, I tend to do more of the intensive parts.
Would you recommend the path that you took, going to college and working so hard, and going to the schooling, and then having a pretty difficult job?
I would. I've enjoyed every part of it. I didn't start out right in the babies. I did 2.5 years on an adult floor, which made me appreciate being with the babies.
Right.
Because it's a totally different feel, and it's so specialized that, once you kind of go there, very few people kind of leave. On an adult floor, you had 8 to 10 patients. Like, I mean, there's a lot more involved, like, where you'll be taking care of the babies, and you might have the most that you usually will have is 4 babies. But, I mean, there's a lot of teaching involved, and, that could be a really heavy assignment. But, I appreciate, where I'm at right now. But, yes, I found it I like the way I did it, like going to school, busting my butt, and then, the past couple of years, I really enjoyed it, and I kind of really blossomed, and I really am kind of specializing, like, being like that, and ICU nurse, and, I wish I would have, joined more, professional organizations, to kind of learn the current craft more before I went back to school, but, going back to school for my master's, a lot of stuff makes sense to me that, like, I did routinely, I perfected, but I might have not known, this is why we're doing this, so, but
right.
yeah, I would have definitely recommend the way I did it.
I would love to go into this career. Is there any advice that you could give to me or someone that would be looking into that?
Just, I would say, like I was telling even Michael, going into, you just need to get started, and the big thing is if you can get involved in, just kind of, you just have to get started. Once you get started, you can do whatever. Like, even if you get a job as, like, a nursing tech. I didn't have a job until, like, my last year. It's just, like, a good way to kind of get your feet wet, to kind of know what you're doing. But, just keep on, they do, like, internships once you're in school, and if you can get one, like, where you can specialize in an ICU, if you know for sure this is what you want to do, just go for it. Every day is a learning opportunity, no matter what half of the nursing spectrum you take. But, just get started and just don't wait. That's my biggest thing. Don't wait. Just get started. But, no. What else? But, yes, I mean, it's not like you can volunteer too much, like, at our unit. Like,
right.
It's only a couple grammar, kind of. But it's, we sometimes get, like, nurse techs, but each hospital is a little bit different. We don't really use, like, nurse techs, but other places do. So, I mean, if you can get a job in the hospital, just to kind of get your feet wet, to kind of know what you're doing. But the big thing is, once you get in nursing school, you just have to go through the program, and then whatever you decide to do afterwards, that's where you learn how to do everything. And it's just like, we get student nurses all the time, and that's my biggest thing. It's just like, just make it through the program. Once you get out and you get your first job, that's where you do all your learning, and it takes like a good year for you to feel comfortable just kind of doing your job, and you're going to be nervous getting in there. And then it took me 2 years to be able to say, I can do this and this, and then it's just like 5 years later, I'm like, this is why I'm doing this. Like, things kind of clicked. So by the end of my second year, I really felt like I knew what I was doing. But it took me 2 years to get there. And that's like my biggest piece of advice. Like, it takes a while, and you're not going to be coming out of school and thinking you know it all, because that's not healthy either. I'm like, you can come out with some confidence,
Yeah.
but, sometimes being overconfident, you make mistakes. So
you work with a team, right? Not just by yourself?
What?
Do you work with a team?
We do. We have, in our hospital, we have nurse practitioners who function very similar. Like, I don't know if you know what the nurse practitioner does.
Is that like a step up from just a neonatal nurse? Like, you go more schooling?
Right. It's more schooling, and it's highly, specialized. So any nurse practitioner is the easiest way to explain it is similar to a physician's assistant, where they can write orders, they are diagnosing, they work with a neonatologist.
All right.
So we have, like, neonatologists, they're the doctors that have the big time degrees, and then we have residents and nurse practitioners, and they kind of divide our unit in half, so, they kind of divvy up who takes what baby. So the nurse practitioner went to school for an extra 2 years. It's a master's degree, which is what I'm doing right now. I'm at Wayne State. And then they, it's highly, a lot of, anatomy and physiology. We go over the diseases and how to diagnose, like looking at lab work. So we're kind of doing like all the investigating, and then prescribing the care to the bedside nurse. So So I will be the one to write the orders to, manage the fluid intake, like how much, like her IV fluids are supposed to be, or, based on, I got, how her oxygen is being managed. Like a lot of these babies get intubated because they can't breathe on their own yet. So, we will kind of be managing that kind of care. So we have neonatologists, we have neonatal nurse practitioners, we have residents, and then we have the bedside nurses. And we also use respiratory therapists because they're the ones that manage the ventilators. They do the ventilators. And then a lot of the times we do have like a social worker. They'll kind of work with the families, identify like any special needs. A lot of these babies qualify for before school programs, before they start like kindergarten. So they will kind of watch their development throughout the year so they can identify any problems and get them the appropriate care before they start school, like early on. And then also we use physical therapists and occupational therapists as well too, where they'll kind of help the babies because a lot of times they're going to be on their backs on a ventilator or whatnot like that, so their muscles get a little bit tight. So sometimes physical therapy will come in and do some exercises with them. Occupational therapy, works a lot with them to kind of, help them with, soothing, calming methods, or we use them a lot to kind of help them to teach them how to take a bottle, because sometimes their muscles around their jaw aren't strong enough to kind of get a really good suck around the bottle. So sometimes there's a couple tricks that they can do to kind of help them get that muscle tone kind of going so they can successfully transition to feeding at home as well too. So, but that's pretty much all that's like our...
Alright, well, this has been so helpful, so thank you so much.
And I'm available all weekend, so if you think of something